Greetings, beautiful people. Welcome back to Find XYZ. If you are new to my channel, please subscribe. We are still on the road to WASSCE 2026. Let's try this problem. If 8 combination n is to 6 combination n minus 1 is equal to 56 x to 15, we've been tasked to find the value of n. Now, in combination, if I have n combination r, which is basically saying that you want to find the number of ways of choosing r objects from a total of n objects. Now, in combination, the order is not important. For example, if you are preparing a smoothie, the order in which you place the fruits doesn't really affect or change anything. So that is what combination does. So we want to know the number of ways of choosing r items from n items. Now, r is always less or equal to n. You can pick 5 objects from 4 objects. You get it? So take note of that. How do we express this? So we express this as n factorial divided by n minus r factorial r factorial. Now, this is how to express a combination where our n refers to the total number of objects and r refers to the number of items we are selecting. So let's express 8 combination n. So we say 8 factorial over 8 minus n factorial divided. Now is to, we can write it as division, because if I have a is to b is the same as a over b, and a over b is the same as a divided by b. So how can I also express 6 combination n minus 1? Likewise, I can write 6 factorial over 6 minus n minus 1 factorial n minus 1 factorial. Everything is equal to 56 over 15 because it is a ratio. We can express it as a fraction. What can we do? We can change division into multiplication, then we flip the fraction after it. We have 8 factorial over 8 minus n factorial times. Now let's simplify this before we bring it up. So we distribute the negative to each of the items in the bracket. We are going to get 6 minus n plus 1, because negative times negative will give us positive. Then 6 plus 1 will give us 7 minus n. So now I'll write it as 7 minus n factorial n minus 1 factorial. Everything divided by 6 factorial. This is equal to 56 over 15. Then if I have n factorial, this means that I can just multiply and reduce each term by 1. So if I have n factorial, I'll start with n, multiply by, now I have to reduce n by 1, which is n minus 1 times, then I'll keep reducing it again. This becomes n minus 2 times n minus 3 factorial. I can keep on, but I want to end here, or you can still keep on reducing it by 1 till you get to 1. Since we don't know the value of n, let me stop here. So it means that if I have 8 factorial and I have 6 factorial here, I can reduce 8 up to 6 factorial. So I can write this as 8 times 7 times 6 factorial. Then I also have 8 minus n factorial. It means that I can reduce it to 7 minus n, because if I reduce 8 by 1, I'll get 7. So this can also be written as 8 minus n times, now if I reduce 8 by 1, I'll get 7 minus n factorial. Similarly, I have n minus 1 here. It means that n factorial can also be reduced to n minus 1 factorial. Then I can write this as n times n minus 1 factorial. Okay, then I'll bring my multiplication. I have 7 minus n factorial n minus 1 factorial. Everything divided by 6 factorial is equal to 56 over 15. Then watch this. 6 factorial divides 6 factorial. Then 7 minus n factorial also divides 7 minus n factorial. N minus 1 factorial also divide n minus 1 factorial. So we are left with 8 times 7, and that will give us, we have 56 over, then the n is here and 8 minus n is also here. So let me bring the n first. So n multiplying 8 minus n. This is equal to 56 over 15. Now 56 is definitely equal to 56, so they are the same. I'm not going to look at that. I'm only going to look at n multiplying 8 minus n is equal to 15. Now let's expand. I'm going to have 8n minus n squared is equal to 15. Then if I rearrange this, I'm going to get negative n squared plus 8n minus 15 is equal to 0. Can decide to multiply everything by negative 1, and this will make sure that every value changes sign. So negative n squared will become positive n squared, and positive 8n will give us negative 8n, and negative 15 will give us positive 15 is equal to 0. So we have our quadratic equation, and what we can do is that since the coefficient of the square term is 1, so 1 times 15 will give us 15. We look out for the pair of factors that will give us the middle term, so I'll go for 3 and 5. Now since we have negative 8n, I have to negate this and I have to negate that, so that when I multiply, negative will still give us positive 15, but when I add, I'll still get my middle term. So I can write this as n squared minus 3n minus 5n plus 15 is equal to 0. I can consider the first two terms and I can consider the last two terms. Now, what is the common term in the first two terms? That is n, so n is out. You are left with 1 inside minus 3. Now the terms inside the bracket must be the same, and what is common among the last two terms? That is negative 5. Then I'll bring my negative 5 out. You are left with n. Now this is positive. There's a negative outside, so I have to make sure I bring negative inside. And what number multiplies to 5 to give us 15? And that is 3 is equal to 0. You can clearly see the terms inside the brackets are still the same. So I can pick one of the terms, that is n minus 3, and I can pick the factored terms, which is n minus 5. Everything is equal to 0. So since n minus 3 is 0 and n minus 5 is also 0, so n is either positive 3 or positive 5. That is the value of n. Now let's do this. Let's substitute and see whether it will satisfy the given equation. So if n is 3, we are going to get 8 combination 3, and that will give us 56, and it matches with the first one. Then we have 3 minus 1, that will give us 6 combination 2, and that will also give us 15. So it also matches with this one. So it means that 3 works. Let's try the 5. So we are going to have 8 combination 5. That will also give us 56. It matches. Then 5 minus 1, that will give us 4. So 6 combination 4, that will also give us 15. So both our values of n satisfy the given equation. So n is equal to 3 and n is also equal to 5. That is the answer to our problem. That is all I have for you for today. If you found this helpful, kindly leave a comment, tag all your friends under this video, and I'll be back with another video. I'm out.